Once there was a woman named Lourdes who lived in a small fishing town on the coast of Portugal. Her son Thiago had gone to sea 3 years before on a large ship and had not been heard from since. This was not unusual. Ships took a long time, and letters took even longer, passing through many hands before they reached a small town like this. Lourdes had a neighbor, old Senor Mateus, who read letters aloud for the women whose husbands and sons were at sea, since not everyone in the town could read well. Every week, Lourdes walked to his house and asked the same question, and every week he gave her the same answer. Nothing yet. After 3 years, most people in the town believed Thiago was dead. Ships were lost at sea more often than anyone liked to admit. But Lourdes did not believe it. She could not say why. She simply did not believe it. She kept walking to Senor Mateus's house every week, and he kept telling her, "Nothing yet." This continued for so long that the other women in the town had stopped expecting anything different. One morning in spring, a letter finally arrived for Lourdes. The postman brought it to her door himself, which he had never done before, because he knew what it might mean, and wanted to be the one who saw her face when she opened it. Lourdes could not read. She held the letter for a long moment, looking at the writing on the front, which she recognized even though she could not read it. It was Thiago's handwriting. She had seen him practicing his letters as a boy, slow and careful, with his tongue between his teeth. She walked to Senor Mateus's house as fast as her legs would carry her. He opened the door, saw her face and the letter in her hand, and understood immediately. He brought her inside, sat her down, and put on his reading glasses, which took him longer than usual because his hands were shaking slightly with excitement on her behalf. He opened the letter and began to read. "Dear Mother, I am alive and well. Our ship was delayed for a long time near the coast of Africa because of storms and repairs. I have thought of you every day. I am coming home. I should arrive in town within 2 months of this letter on a ship called the Esperanza. I have saved good money and I am bringing you a gift you will like very much. Please do not worry about me any longer. Your loving son, Thiago." Lourdes covered her face with her hands and cried, the way a person cries when 3 years of fear finally have somewhere to go. Senor Mateus folded the letter carefully and gave it back to her. 2 months, he said. Not so long now. Lourdes went home and told everyone she met along the way. By evening, the whole town knew. Thiago was alive. He was coming home aboard the Esperanza in 2 months. The 2 months passed slowly, the way time always does when you are waiting for something wonderful. Lourdes counted the weeks. She cleaned the house. She mended Thiago's old clothes, which still hung in his room, exactly as he had left them. She asked every fisherman who came into the harbor whether they had heard news of the Esperanza. Most had not. A few thought they had heard the ship's name somewhere but could not remember where. On the day the 2 months ended, Lourdes walked to the harbor at sunrise and stayed there until sunset. The Esperanza did not come. She went home disappointed, but not afraid. Ships were often a few days late. A week passed. Still no ship. 2 weeks passed. Lourdes began going to the harbor every morning. The other women who had once been so happy for her began exchanging worried glances whenever she was not looking. They had seen this before. A letter, hope, then nothing. After a month, Senor Mateus came to her house carrying a newspaper from the city which arrived every few weeks on the supply boat. "Lures," he said gently. "I think you should see this." He showed her a small article. It reported that a ship called the Esperanza had been lost in a storm off the coast 6 weeks earlier. No survivors had been found. Lures looked at the newspaper for a long time. She could not read the words, but she understood the shape of bad news on a page, just as people understand a storm before the first raindrop falls. "Read it to me," she said quietly. Senor Mateus read every word. He did not soften the truth. Over many years of reading letters to the women of the town, he had learned that softening bad news only made people trust you less the next time. When he finished, Lures sat perfectly still. "The letter said he was alive," she whispered. "The letter was true when he wrote it," Senor Mateus replied. "The sea took him afterward." Lures did not cry. She had cried everything she had during those 3 years, little by little. There was only a strange and terrible calm that came from finally knowing what she had spent so long refusing to believe. She thanked Senor Mateus and went home. She sat in Thiago's room, among his old clothes for the rest of the day. The following week, a fisherman named Duarte came to her door. He had been fishing farther from shore than usual, near a small group of islands 2 days away by sea. "I found a man on one of the islands," he said. "He told me he had been stranded there after his ship was wrecked. He is in the city hospital now, but he asked me to find his mother in this town." "What is his name?" Lures asked. "Thiago." She stood, perfectly still. "He survived," Duarte continued. "The ship sank, but he and 2 other sailors escaped in a small boat. They reached the island and waited there until someone found them. He is alive." Lures could not believe him. She had believed once before, and the world had taken that hope away. She was afraid to believe a second time. "How do I know this is true?" she asked. Duarte reached into his coat and handed her a folded piece of paper. "He gave me this for you. I cannot read, but he told me only you would know if the words were truly his." Lures hurried to Senor Mateus's house. He unfolded the paper and read it slowly. The message was short. It described a single afternoon from Thiago's childhood when he was 7 years old. The 2 of them had sat beside the harbor wall and shared a secret memory that no one else had ever known. Not Duarte, not Senor Mateus. No one. Senor Mateus looked up. "Lures," he said softly. "I think you should go to the city." She left on the first boat the next morning. She told no one where she was going. She was not ready to be wrong twice in front of everyone who had watched her hope once already. 3 days later, she returned. Thiago walked beside her. He was thinner than before. A scar crossed his arm. In his bag, he carried a small wooden box, the gift he had promised his mother. He had carried it through the shipwreck, across the lonely island, and through 2 days at sea in a small boat because he had refused to leave it behind. The whole town gathered to watch them walk up from the harbor together. Senor Mateus stood in his doorway as they passed. Lures stopped before him. "You read me the bad news without softening it," she said. "Thank you for that too." "It was the truth at the time," Senor Mateus replied. "Yes," Lures said with a smile. "And now this is the truth." Then she walked home with her son beside her. up the hill toward the house where she had waited so faithfully for him to return.